Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for being here on a Friday evening. The city that I come from, on a Friday evening, people go elsewhere. They don't come and listen to books and anything to do with books. So, if you guys are here, I'm really happy that you guys are here and going to listen to something that I want to say. And yes, once again, happy Women's Day to all the lovely ladies sitting out here. A lot of people say, why one day? You know. So I won't get into that, why one day, because that will take me off from the subject. But for me, it's every day. For me, women have been a very important subject matter when it came to mythology. And it started at a point of time when people asked me, why is it that in mythology we don't have women heroes? And that kind of set me thinking that why is it that there aren't any women heroes in mythology? Now, if you look at mythology primarily, and not just Indian mythology, I'm talking about mythology across the world, be it the Greek, the Egyptian, the Japanese, everywhere. Generally, there are two kinds of roles associated with women. One is damsel in distress. Okay, somebody who's got kidnapped, waiting for somebody to bail her out, nothing much. So be it Sita, be it Andromeda in Greek mythology, where somebody, not her fault, her mother said something, somebody cursed her, she's now waiting for our Utkarsh to come and rescue her. So we have these kind of women who are damsels in distress, not much that they can do. Or we have another role, which is the outright seductresses, right? They're evil. Stay away from them, like the sirens in Greek mythology. We have one more important role for the women, and that is that somebody is downright evil, right? So be it Medusa. Of course, what we know is Medusa is dangerous. What we don't know is what made her so dangerous. There again, you have a man behind it, or men behind it. But this is not the day to resurrect Medusa, so I'll skip that. Or you have somebody closer home, and that is Surpanakha, downright evil. What's her fault? She proposed to a man. Really? I mean, is it really all that bad? The prerogative that a man has is, sorry, I'm not getting married or not interested. But no, you see, patriarchy has to set a lesson, and so you slash off the nose. The general role that we have seen for women is very, very clear. They are either waiting to be saved, they are either being abducted or waiting to be saved, or they are downright evil. There isn't anything in between. Is that true? Let us understand what makes a male hero. We have two kinds of heroes, whom we call heroes in mythology. Either they are adventure heroes, so you have people who step out to get something, or they are battling. So you have, let's say, the Greek heroes like Achilles and Hercules, who are out to, do something, great bravery, brawn power. Or you have Ram who's fighting a battle, or you have Arjun and the Pandavas, battle, war. Or you have another kind of a hero who is on a spiritual quest, who is seeking enlightenment, be it a Buddha, be it a Jesus, be it a Moses. In mythology, these are our heroes. Our heroes are battling dragons, Medusas of the world, or Ravans, that's your hero. Or they are seeking enlightenment. Yes, with this benchmark, we don't have heroes amongst women. But the question here that needs to be understood is, why must we have the same benchmark or the same yardstick to judge a woman if she's a hero or not? We don't expect a woman to go slashing dragons. Men are doing it, right? Women don't go out for enlightenment because they've got something else to do. With this perspective, we do not have women heroes. But can we look elsewhere? Can we look otherwise? Can we have different benchmarks to understand if women existed, if there were women heroes or not? And my first character here is Draupadi. I don't really see too much of a hero here, Because occasionally, Draupadi, whenever you talk of a female hero, people will say Draupadi. My way of looking at it is, yes, there have been occasional outbursts. She's flared, she's blasted, but then she ends up following the patriarchal norms that have been laid for her. She is unable to open her mouth when she's forced to marry 5 men. She's unable to do much when she is disrobed, nor is she able to do much when, against her wishes, Krishna goes with a Sandhi Prastav, with a proposal for treaty. He doesn't get to do much. So I personally don't see too much out here as a hero. Let me take you to some other heroes who I feel have really broken that mold of what we call as heroism in mythology. And my first character is, of course, Shakuntala. You might wonder what is so heroic about Shakuntala? Right. This is not the Shakuntala that majority of us have been brought up on. Shakuntala, or rather the Abhigyan Shakuntalam, the Sanskrit drama made famous by Kalidas, is quite antithesis to what actually Shakuntala was. So how many of you know that Shakuntala actually is not a creation of Kalidas, but she is actually a creation of Vyas in Mahabharata? Shakuntala is the first female character in Mahabharata, and like all the other women who follow, she's an extremely strong individual and a fiery woman. She's not the damsel in distress that we have seen, with those lovely doe-eyed, with those flower armlets. No. She's a woman who knows her past. She knows she's the child of lust. She's aware of the fact that she's been disowned by both her mother and her father. She knows what she is. And she decides at one point of time to get married on her own right. She doesn't even wait for her father to seek permission. She simply gets married. When you look at the Vyas model, Vyas version of Shakuntala, there is no Durvasa Muni. So our friend Mr. Dushyant doesn't suffer from any temporary amnesia, and that ring, everything is a figment of Mr. Kalidas's imagination. So what happened in Shakuntala by Vyas? In Vyasa Shakuntala, Dushyant was just as he was. He came, he had fun, and he went back. And he plain and simple forgot about his escapade. That's the truth. Yes, for some reason, and I won't get into the reasons of why did Kalidas change it, because that is a subject in itself, so I will skip that. So the Durvasa Muni and the temporary amnesia and the ring is completely not in the original. Shakuntala waits for a reasonable period of time, and then she decides to go to Hastinapur. Hastinapur in those days was a huge power. Dushyant was the king of Hastinapur, which made him a very, very big guy. She goes to the court, and there, in the original Mahabharata, there is a huge speech, which is nearly 6 pages. In the erstwhile, the entire story is about 15 or 17 pages in the original Mahabharata, of which 6 pages is the blasting by Shakuntala, which she delivers in Hastinapur, in the king's court, in front of all his courtiers. And some of the dialogues are so beautiful, so powerful, that I sometimes wonder, why was this changed at all? The most important thing about the blasting, or about the lecture, or about the monologue that Shakuntala delivers is she's fighting for her own right. She's fighting for the fact that she had got married to a king and she deserves to be a queen. She deserves to be the queen of Hastinapur. It's not that she was looking for any great materialistic comfort. She didn't care for it. And the second thing that she was fighting for is the right of her son, who Dushyant had promised that he would be the heir apparent. She was fighting for these 2 things. If you just correlate it to modern times, we do know a lot of women who are fighting for their rights of being an individual and fighting for their children's rights. How different is the story? Frankly, not much. But then why did the story change? Why did we retain Kalidas's version, where we keep seeing her jerking tears, and we've forgotten this? That's a question that each one of you, that's the question I want each one of you to take back. and asked yourself that why did we not retain the Vyasan version of Shakuntala and why did we just absorb the easy, unbelievable, not true version of Kalidasa? Maybe because in those days it was not palatable to have a woman flex her muscles, have a woman ask and fight for her rights. That could be one reason, but I'm sure each one of you can find your own answer. I was just talking to somebody 2 minutes back and I said that the beauty of Mahabharata is it raises more questions than it answers any. And that is what I want you guys to take back. Think, what happened? Why did we overlook the story of Shakuntala, of Vyasa's Shakuntala and absorb Kalidasa's Shakuntala? That's probably because, as I said, it's not palatable. Because in a man's world, a woman calling shots is something that has never been palatable. Let's look at Satyavati. Many of us have seen Satyavati in B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata in a white sari on the very sidelines of the screen. Seldom any role. But Satyavati had a very, very important role. And let me tell you what that role was. Because many of us have not thought of it from that perspective. But let's go back to Satyavati. Normally what happens in Mahabharata or in any mythological story, we take the story in its abstract. We just see what she does at this point of time and then we forget the past. The past is important. Satyavati, once again, is the child of lust. Her mother was raped by a king and later on, when the woman gets pregnant and when this was told to the king simply said, I'm a king, right? I just needed it at that point of time and I did it. What do you expect me to do? Poor man, the father of Satyavati goes back. Later on, when the mother delivers twins, that is a boy and a girl, the father goes back to the king and says, these are yours. The father accepts the son and does not accept the daughter. This is the daughter and this is Satyavati, who was aware of the fact that she was abandoned by the king when she was born at the cost of her brother. The brother was accepted, who later on goes on to become the Matsya Naresh, the king of Matsya kingdom in Mahabharata. And he has some role later on during the Kurukshetra. We won't go so far. So later on, when Satyavati gets married to Shantanu, a much aged Shantanu, a much older Shantanu, initially they had thought that the proposal was for Devrat, Bhishma, but that didn't happen. The question is, here is Satyavati, who is aware of the fact that her mother was raped. She was aware of the fact that she was not wanted by her own father, and also the fact that in between, she has also undergone a kind of a rape by Rishi Parashar. A lot of people don't accept that that's rape. They say it's consensual. Really? Just because she negotiated a few things? Here is an old, big, burly sage who's not bathed for I don't know how many days, catches this girl in the middle of nowhere in a boat where nobody's watching and asks for sexual favors. This woman, this poor girl, not woman, this girl has no choice. So she's trying to postpone the act and saying, okay, but this is a problem. Child who the sage takes along with him. That's your Vyas. Look at a woman a girl who's gone through so many things, abandoned by the father, aware of the fact that the mother has been raped, and here is an old sage who's raped her once again. What do you expect from this girl? This girl plays a very, very meticulous act. She's done something that many of us have not even thought of. She's taken her revenge from the entire clan. What she couldn't do to her father, what she couldn't avenge from her father, she avenged from the father figures of the culture. What did she do in the process? All of us call them Kurus. All of us call them Pandavas. Right? How many of us have thought to the fact that there wasn't any Kuru blood in any one of them? Not one was a Kuru clan. Let's go back. Satyavati married Shantanu. Shantanu already had Devrat, who is Bhishma. Right? After that, she has two sons from Shantanu who are already half Kshatriya because she is not a Kshatriya. Right? And then these two sons die without leaving any heir. The Kuru clan is over. However, Satyavati, to be fair, gives a chance to Bhishma to father the from the two widows. But Bhishma says no. So what does Satyavati do? She brings in Vyas. And who is Vyas? The son of Satyavati. Vyas and the two widows, they father, give birth to certain children. Right? Who are they? Pandu, Dhritarashtra. Not Kuru anymore. Because the mother is different, the father is Vyas. So thereafter, there were no more Kurus left. In mythology, or even today in culture, lineage is always from the father. You know, this is what I personally feel, that this is such a delusion that patriarchy lives in. It's only the mother who knows who the father of the son is. Until the mother doesn't say, nobody knows about it. But look, the credit is always given to the patriarchy and the father. Here is a classic example of avenging in a manner wherein there isn't anybody of the so-called great Kshatriya Kuru lineage. They were all from Satyavati. Now you might say, is that fair? Oh, let's not even get into that. Let's not even get into that, because you didn't ask this question when her mother was raped. You didn't ask this question when the sage raped her in the middle of the boat. You didn't ask her when a much older man came seeking for her hand. And all this while, everybody has blamed Satyavati for the Bhishma Pratigya that Bhishma took. Is it fair again? Do you think Bhishma took this Pratigya for Satyavati? No. Bhishma took this Pratigya to give his father a chance. The lusty father who at a ripe age of 75, when his son is about to get married, still wants to get married. Guys, it's very, very important that we change the narrative here. I have come across so many people who tell me that Satyavati is to be blamed for Bhishma. No, Satyavati is not to be blamed. The father could have said, okay, I don't want to get married. But the father didn't say. And the father just lamented a little bit and went back to frolicking days. That is the important thing. And here is Satyavati, who's been nicely put in the footnotes of the epic, but they overlook the contribution or the avenge. I won't use the word contribution. Or the avenge. Revenge. Why not? Men seek revenge and we call them heroes. If a woman seeks revenge, can we not call them a hero? Yes, because she changed the entire history, if I use the word, of the Kuru Parivar. Patriarchy or man has always been very, very judgmental about women and their ways. And here is another one where we haven't quite overlooked the fact that it is a judgment by the men on certain aspects. Ahalya. I'm sure many of you know about the story of Ahalya, how she kind of had a transgression when she made love with Indra. She should not have done it because she was a much married woman with Rishi Gautam. We all know this. What we don't know, and once again, I have to delve back into it. What happened? What happened? The Ahalya didn't come from nowhere. So we need to go back about the backstory of Ahalya. And let me give you that, which I'm sure many of you might not know, some of you might. Ahalya was created from the most beautiful aspects of nature by Lord Brahma. That's why we also call her a Brahma Kumari. There are different versions. Brahma wanted to create something very, very beautiful. Somebody says Brahma wanted to put Urvashi in her place because she was getting too arrogant about her beauty. So Brahma created a very, very beautiful being. Having created, job done, Brahma gives this little baby to Rishi Gautam to bring her up. Here is a beautiful girl, small girl, grows up to be a young woman, very, very beautiful. Everybody knows that this is one of the most beautiful creations of Lord Brahma. When she attains puberty, Rishi Gautam takes her back to Brahmaji and says, "Yo, you asked me to bring her up, I brought her up in all ways." What does Brahma do? Brahma makes a comment by saying, "Such a beautiful girl, you have brought her up. I am impressed by your sexual restraint." Sexual restraint? And as a price for that, I give you this girl in marriage. Really? Sexual restraint? A man is supposed to bring up a daughter exactly that way. So what happened here? A girl who till yesterday considered a man as her father becomes his wife overnight. See, what we are missing out here is the thought process. What we are missing out here is the psychology about this little girl. Till yesterday, it was a father. Today, she's sharing a bed with him. And here is a Gautam who's a much older man who lives by the Vedic texts, right? For whom pursuit of knowledge was critical, not looking after a woman. In the Vedic text, we have a concept wherein every man and woman must coexist, must live together, and it is the responsibility of both the man and the woman to satisfy each other. In the case of Ahalya, that was not happening because Rishi Gautam was much older and he had his pursuit elsewhere. The popular version says, and I will use two versions for you. Somebody needs to tell me when to stop. I kind of get carried away, so you'll have to tell me when to stop. Okay. The popular version says that Indra took the form of Rishi Gautam when Rishi Gautam had left for his ablutions. He comes, he proposes that let's make love now, and Ahalya does so. Later on, when Rishi Gautam comes to know, he gets angry. The story also is found earlier in Valmiki's Ramayana, and Valmiki doesn't mince his words. He simply says, Indra came, Indra proposed, and Ahalya fell for him. And why not? Because here is one of the most beautiful, most handsome gods proposing to a woman who's never felt like a woman ever in her life. She was looking for a kind of a satiating her curiosity. I'll just digress here for a second. Curiosity is a very important thing in mythology, and there are double standards to curiosity. We blame Pandora because her curiosity got us all the evils in the world. Eve got curious and she ate apples and all of us were thrown out of the Garden of Eden. In Mahabharata itself, there is two versions of curiosity. One says, this is Narad saying that, I can't recollect the exact Sanskrit version, which says that the biggest problem of women is curiosity. And this is the same version later on that says that it praises Narad for saying, you're very curious and that sets you everywhere. You see the double version of curiosity in the same text. Now, this curiosity that she had is what enabled her to explore her own sexuality. Ahalya was not just a wife, or Ahalya was not just a girl. She was also a woman. And that is where the whole problem happened, that she explored her sexuality and she was punished for that. Yes, she was punished. She was punished much more than what the perpetrator of the crime was punished. Indra nearly went scot-free, but Ahalya was punished to a stony inertness. Now, whichever version you read, the Valmiki version is around the 3rd or 4th century, and this version of her not realizing, not understanding and getting punished comes in Katha Sarit Sagar in 12th century. See how the narrative has changed over a period of time? Because somebody was setting in the norms of women's behavior, and that is where the erroneous punishment was necessary. This is the story of Ahalya, but whichever version you read, there is one thing which I must bring up here, and that is, she never apologizes ever. She never says sorry ever. She never accepts that she made a mistake. And I think that is the beauty of the whole thing. She did what she wanted to do. She explored what she wanted to explore, and not her fault at all. And she doesn't apologize for that. Finally, there is one character that many of us are not even aware of, and that is Kannadi. Many of you, especially in the north, west, east, ask people which are the well-known epics. People will tell you Ramayana and Mahabharata. There is one more important epic, and that is called Silapatikaram or Shilapatikaram, unless my pronunciation is really bad. Thank you. Right? I always goof up on that. I just don't get it so well. And that is such an important epic because it breaks all the rules of epics. This is the only epic which we have where the protagonist is a woman through and through. She doesn't come in once in a while to blast somebody or, curse somebody. She does it all through. It's an ordinary woman. She's an ordinary woman, no divinity, no wars, no battles happening here at all compared to any of the epics that we have. And that is the most important thing about this woman. That here is an epic which completely rests on the shoulder of a woman. You won't have any epic in the world, be it the Iliad, be it the Odyssey, any epic, or be it Gilgamesh, the Mesopotamian epic. In every epic you have a male hero. This is the only epic. And the most important thing here that she does is she takes to task the king who falters. And I think that is the most important aspect out here. She does allow the transgression of her husband. She's willing to overlook that. And yes, on a day of feminism, when people are talking about feminism, why did she do that? Why did she allow her husband to come back? Well, there can be many reasons for it. 90% of our women in our country don't have much of a choice but to allow their husbands to come back even after they're philandered for good. But here is our man who's changed man, and that's why she comes back. I can also say it's love. Love moves mountains. Maybe that's how the hero comes back. But that is not the aspect here. The aspect is, what does she do hereafter? Hereafter, when the king falters in passing a judgment, this is a woman who goes to a place which is completely not her domain. She walks into that place and she literally challenges the king, proves the king that he's wrong, to the extent that the king drops dead immediately. This is a very important message for the ruling class, for the administrators of our country, where it's important to accept that you made a mistake. And I think through the story, the author Ilango Adigal, who was a Jain monk, who was passing a very important message by saying that it is important that you accept your mistake. And who does it? A rank, ordinary woman does it. Please read about Kannaki, an extremely important character. Finally, I have just one thing to say is that many of us have read the story. Many of us believe this is a very, very beautiful story. I have a difference of opinion here. This is a very beautiful story. Yes, an extremely, classic story, I will say. But what does the story say? The story says that here is a woman, and this is a story we tell our kids. This is a story we tell our small girls, that saying, no matter what happens, here is a woman who fought death, who fought Yama. What can be more dangerous than fighting the god of death? And here we are saying that the fight is need be for your husband, fight death. Ladies and gentlemen, a small request. If you want to tell the story to your children, do say it, do tell them. But tell them another story also, which says how a man went and fought with death for his wife. When you have the story, tell the story. If you don't have the story, don't eulogize the story at all. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.